Welcome back, everyone. Toy Shiz here, and I am back yet again for yet another McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse video. And today we are going to be discussing the brand new Justice League Task Force Darkseid Build-A-Figure wave, of which if you saw my recent news video on said wave, you would know, yeah, it really was not my cup of tea, and the only reason I have it is because I wandered into my local GameStop. They had the buy two, get one free sale. And that's all I got in terms of an excuse. And yet, here we are today. So, the very first figure we're going to be discussing is, of course, Superman. Oh, look at that head portrait there. Lots to say on that. Number one in the four-figure wave, of course, to build Darkseid. I like the bit of a package refresh. Nice, bright graphics. The backside will largely be the same as all other collect-to-build figures. You get to see all the different parts and pieces that make up Darkseid, and you got some pretty cool artwork. I totally dig that. All four characters have all four platinums, just FYI. Every single one. It's kind of the clone thing from the game. So if you want even more video game looking characters from this wave, and then the glowing orange, he's almost dead Darkseid, I'm definitely after those. So I will do a follow-up wave if and when I ever find those. And here's the barcode in case you want to head out and pick up your set today. I'll also put links down in the description below for those interested. Next up, we have, this is cool, Wally West Flash. Just a normal looking Wally West Flash, how I like Wally West, along with Aquaman. You know, we've talked about this before, and yes, in hand, it's so weird. McFarlane is so weird with the images, and then we have the figure in hand. And for the fourth figure, I'll save you some time. He is the best one, and of course, I'm talking about Batman. You really can't go wrong with Batman. He just looks cool. I've got my thoughts and opinions. Just stay tuned for all of it. I'll explain it. But the Justice League Task Force was an actual comic book from the late 80s into the early 90s, but we're not talking about that. We are discussing purely the video game goodness that was Justice League Task Force. And when I say goodness, from SNES to Genesis to the Mega Drive, it's purely the artwork I'm talking about here. The storyline was very basic. Darkseid, he's attacking Earth. As Darkseid does, he wants to put some of those fire pits all around. The graphics are good for that time. We'll just say it's not a great game at all. So you kind of see the difference here between SNES and the Genesis versions. You also see Wonder Woman and Green Arrow are part of them. And basically, the story is this. Darkseid creates clones. You fight other Justice League members who turn out to be clones. You fight the last clone, and then you get to Darkseid, and also Despero and Cheetah are a part. Hopefully we'll see them eventually. Now, my thoughts and opinions on this game is that it comes from a point of DC Comics, of which I always say I love to live. The very first time I ever played this game was at Best Buy. Remember Best Buy? When it had those huge white gate tower looking things in the middle of the store, and you had a big old Mario and Sonics, and they were touting Justice League Task Force, and I remember playing it, and I wasn't very good at it. And subsequently, played it years later at a friend's house, and it's not a good game. It's not a good game at all. It's like, oh, remember that game? And then you kind of have like these fond memories, but you play the game now, and you're like, dang, this is terrible. It's terrible. Don't play it. But the action figures for it, if these had come out way back in the day, really would have been something cool, I have to say. And that's where the nostalgia kind of hits me. I like the video game aspect of these, and I'm telling you, in hand, they're much better. But let's be honest, they're not that much better. I'm not going to embellish it. There's teetering on that, like, and then you go, oh, God. Anyways, sit back, relax, grab yourself a nice hot cup of coffee. This is a look at the brand new Justice League Task Force, the Apocalypse Build-A-Figure line by McFarlane Toys. And just before we press that start button, I just want to say a quick thank you to everyone who continues to watch my DC Multiverse vids. And if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. Why? We got old toys, new toys, daily news updates. Guarantee you'll find something here that you'll like. Now, here's all the characters, all four figures, out of the packaging. And I'm going to tell you, this is definitely you had a good idea, you didn't implement it well, and you really cut some corners here at McFarlane Toys. And I hate to keep ragging on stuff that I like, because Obviously, they're here. I like these enough to buy them. But I don't want to keep saying, you're cutting corners, you're doing all this. It's become a thing, McFarlane Toys, with you guys. The powers, of which it didn't even dawn on me until I pulled these things out of the packaging. Across the board, these are the exact same power effects with each figure. So essentially you get a punchy one and one for the foot, and you can kind of interswap them anyways. So Superman, get this, will get red power effects, which, okay, Batman gets blue. If you look at the video game, there's plenty of things to draw from. And let's say this, yes and no, they work. You can kick a Darkseid in the face. Batman, I think, looks good with them. Some of the other characters, as you'll soon see, are just kind of like, yeah, I guess that works. But ultimately, it's boring because when you play the video game, you could have had Superman shooting laser beams, a laser beam power. That would have been awesome. Aquaman kind of does a Hadouken kind of move and Flash spins around. None of that is present. All you have is the same exact effects with every single character, and that's boring. Now, if you had one and you go, oh yeah, look, it's Flash, he's all powered up, or Aquaman is using his trident, it's fine. But it gets so stagnant with every single character having the exact same powers. This Superman going up against the Darkseid, that totally works, but ultimately it's a KO in terms of thinking outside the box. Every single effect being the exact same. It's like I'm holding a bunch of real Ghostbuster ghosts right now. It's boring. It's flatline. McFarlane, in 2025, you have to do better than this. People are going after more expensive figures to get the proper looks, the proper powers, the proper head sculpts, everything. They will start spending more, and then you'll see the people that were just casually, they're dropping off. They're dropping off now, even before this wave. This has been one heck of a year for you guys. You have definitely seen some lowest lows and a few highs. I'll give you that, but this has to be done better. In terms of the figures, Aquaman, I've already said my piece on this. Do you think that this looks good? If you do, fine. But I thought it looked good enough to get the pieces that go for the Darkseid. I get it. He's supposed to be sitting in water. I totally get what you're going for, but this is what's called an alternate head portrait. You got the one where the hair is kind of down, and you got the one where the hair is kind of up. Off to the side, it's a great sculpt. I'm not going to discount that by any means, but it makes for a really wonky Aquaman, and one that really doesn't fit the video game. It's kind of like yes and no. You get the same trident we've seen with every Aquaman release. It's incredibly gummy. I even tried heating this up and straightening it out. That's the best you could do. It's warped. It's perma-warped. But to give the figure some praise, I like what they did with the video game shading, at least on the fronts. The body type that they choose for the Aquamans has got to go. They got to change that. It's really awkward. It's weird. They did actually put some paint on the back, at least right there on his actual back. Nothing on the legs, and he's the only figure in this wave that does it. Every other character has no paint, zero whatsoever for any of the video game shading on the back. Overall, this figure, if you want to put him in an aquarium tank, you go, oh yeah, I get it, he's floating in water with the hair. It's not exactly the Task Force video game in terms of what the hair is doing and everything else. It's just, yeah, there you go. Now, for a completely different change of pace, we have the Flash, which I do actually like. And again, it is Wally West. He will have that video game shading all over him, only on the front. I do like the head portrait. The shading extends to the forehead. The coloring, the red, the colors of the wings that are on his mask, all of it works for me in that sense. And again, I like that it's just a normal looking Wally West Flash, no chin strap, no Jim Lee lines, nothing like that. The body type that they have chosen for the Flash is going to be the same type of Flash we've seen from Barry Allen and everyone else. I do like the subtleness of the video game graphics. Again, there is going to be nothing on the backside. And I like the digital look for his logo. Again, for me, liking this type of video game action figure for thinking back on more fond memories, but the game ain't that great, that kind of thing. It's just a nostalgic kind of thing. And for that, I do appreciate it. He comes with two fisted hands, the same exact articulation you have known throughout these different Flash figures. It's nothing crazy. This guy fares a lot better than Aquaman, so if you want Wally West, he's going to be the video game Wally West, but he is cool. Next up is Superman. Now, there's a lot of good with this, and then there's a lot of wonk, and that primarily exists in the head portrait. I get what they were going for. The hair, the face. It's a 90s overdone to the extreme Superman head portrait. From the sides, it doesn't look too bad. The hair, it's not a very good head sculpt at all. Across the board, they painted the lips. It doesn't work. It really does not work at all. The body is where it's at, though. They've upgraded the body. It's the Crisis on Infinite Earth Superman, which gives him a lot more bulk. I do like the cape. He does not have an S, and he totally should have had an S because even in the video game, he has the S on the cape. Come on, McFarlane Toys. That's what I'm talking about. It's the little things like this, the details that are necessary. I can't understand why you didn't put it on. You should have put it on, but yet here we are talking about it. Cutting corners, cutting costs. It's the name of the game. But in particular, I like how the cape drapes over his shoulders. It really does make for that Superman look on how the cape tucks into his costume. The cape is very heavy. He does not have any of those video game shadings on the backside, as I said, but it makes up for it in the sense of if you got rid of the head portrait, you see all the good things. Like they painted the belt loops this time around. I like the video game shading on this. It's just the head portrait that has to go. So we'll do some swaps in just a few just to kind of see what I'm hoping looks better. But in totality, putting my collector eye away, if you were a kid, which let's be honest, fewer kids are buying these, especially at $25. And just in general, they're not interested in this type of stuff anymore. The Superman is just, yeah, if you want him. But Batman, this one seems to be, at least for my taste, the best one of the wave. We've seen the gritted teeth portrait before. Last time he was bloodied, it came with the Bane. This works better. Less blood, less of that. He looks like a zombie kind of thing. Overall, the colors, the wash, the video game look, the giant bat symbol. That's a cool looking 90s brawler beat 'em up Batman. So from the dark gray with the lighter tone shading, the belt is wrong. It was supposed to be more of a pouch belt, just FYI. They reused the Nightfall body, of which they keep reusing it. It's not a bad body, but maybe we switch it up. Something like that. No shading for the graphics on the backside. The cape is wired. It's more of that crunchy taffeta. It's not nearly as soft as the Superman cape. It works. It gives off that video game shine. He's got two fisted hands. It just overall is the complete package. Now, besides the usual power effects that they give to every single character, a batarang, some kind of grapnel like in the video game, that would have been so much better. In terms of the Build-A-Figure, though, this is what I really wanted this wave for because I really do think that that's a cool-looking Darkseid. And it reminds me of a lot of different things, including the Task Force video game. But the overall look is a lot more akin to Darkseid than the Superpowers Darkseid that we just got with the cape. It's the exact same figure minus the medallion, minus the cape. The arms will not have the biceps. He has minimal articulation. He's not the big brawler fighter that you would expect for a video game Darkseid in a beat-em-up. But if you want a more comic book looking Darkseid, even though he has that video game shading, and no, it does not go all the way to the back, it's totally fine with me. I wanted it. This is why I got this wave. Go really easy with the elbows and the arms. He is very stuck. This one, I didn't have any problem with the arms popping off, which I guess that's a good sign of maybe they just used some different materials this time around because, yes, with the caped one, it started to pop off from time to time. The waist, minimal head articulation, the legs won't really do much of anything. See, that's where when you have a brawler beat-em-up video game, you look at the Jada toys, they are fluid, they're moving, they're doing all the different poses that you would expect from a Street Fighter line. So incorporate that with this Darkseid, and no, they've missed the boat completely. He is very stagnant. He just kind of stands there. He can block stuff. maybe get his leg up into a powerful, I'm going to take some punches and hits position. But no, largely this is just, hey, there's a Darkseid figure for a wave, and that's all we're doing. And like I said, that's what McFarlane is becoming known for. You're not putting in the thought, the effort. It's just, what can we get out? How much can we get out? Quality has gone out the window, and quantity is the new name of the game, and it's not a good look. When you look at the superpowers caped Darkseid compared to this Build-A-Figure Darkseid, yeah, the caped one will have some extra hands and an extra head portrait, which I totally love the superpowers one, but I like this video game slash kind of sort of comic book one too. For different reasons, both of these figures shine, but if you're a fan of articulation, no, this Darkseid will not be for you. And oh hey, in the Task Force video game, there are two other characters in the names of Green Arrow and Wonder Woman. Will we see these characters? Will we see Cheetah and Despero, another Build-A-Figure? What's going on with that? Those are questions that everyone has when they collect this type of line, but at least with the Green Arrow and the Wonder Woman here, you can complete it for now. But what about those head swaps I was talking about? Well, I would say they really don't work. They kind of sort of work from far away. The Aquaman one with the beard, even though it doesn't really match the video game because he doesn't have a beard in there, but he's got the long hair. Yeah, sure, that works better than the Superman's. The Superman head portrait is perfect, but it just needed to be a little bit bigger. So that's going to wrap it up for my quick look at the brand new McFarlane Toys Justice League Task Force Darkseid Build-A-Figure Wave. There is two ways to think about this. One, as a kid, as a young collector, if you don't care about any of this, you don't go on YouTube. You got Aquaman, Superman, Batman, and the Flash. They got some video game looks, and you got a Darkseid villain as the Build-A-Figure. Fine, out the door, that's a nice Christmas gift, if anything. But if you're one of those people that remember this game, and just think about that years ago, right? Few and far between on who's really remembering that video game, but it's not drawn out to its full potential. There's a lot to be desired. Across the board, this wave has issues. I'm going to tell you, do not buy this at full price. Wait for a sale, wait for clearance. And even at those prices, it's a definite maybe. And for me, while I do like some of the things here, no, this wave is a total pass. So, you've heard my thoughts, and now I'm curious to know yours. Comment below, let me know. Let's talk everything Justice League Task Force. And I'm going to leave you guys with that. As always, drink some great coffee, eat some great food, but most importantly, remember, I got some TNBAs coming up to talk about, so get ready for those. And when we do, let me know what you found. I'll talk to you guys soon. Adios.